fun. So I know during like lockdown and everything, people are trying to get new hobbies, find things to do to entertain themselves. And I know quite a lot of people are like learning new languages or have already been learning new languages, you know, for just like something to do. So I have been learning Korean now for about 3 years. I'm not gonna say that I've been doing it like every single day or like full on for the whole 3 years. There has been times where I have not studied at all for like weeks at a time, but I'd like started about 3 years ago. And Korean's not like the only language I learned, but today I want to specifically talk about Korean and how I study Korean. You would be able to use a lot of these tips for other languages anyway, but I'm just going to specifically talk about Korean today. I may do another language another day. So what I thought I'd do is I would take you through what I normally do to study Korean and what tips I would give for anybody that's thinking of starting learning Korean. So the first thing with Korean is that you should learn the alphabet. Like, there's no like being around the bush about it. You should learn the alphabet. It's not that hard. Like, I know from like a native English speaker or even like Spanish or anything, seeing a different alphabet is a bit like daunting at first, but you definitely should. That should be the first thing you do. It's not that hard. It's only like 20 something characters, but it's important for being able to write and for pronunciation. So definitely the first thing you need to do is learn the alphabet. There's so many different videos and, you know, posts and websites that can teach you the alphabet. I think I just did it on YouTube. There's so many different videos of people just going through the alphabet, so definitely do that. It won't take you long at all, but it's important when you're going to try and pronounce words and write them down. So yeah, that's definitely the first thing you need to do. The next thing is find like what source you're going to use. At first I was thinking about buying like textbooks and stuff, but I ended up not bothering buying anything like that. I just use the website Talk to Me in Korean mainly. So either find like a textbook or like a website that goes through like step by step, like lesson by lesson, for you to follow, that's easy. The two that I use and the two that I know the most of is Talk to Me in Korean, which is the main one I use, and also How to Study Korean, I think it's called. I'll put the links to both of those in the description. I find them both very easy to follow. Like I said, I mainly use Talk to Me in Korean, and if you've already started learning Korean, I imagine you probably already know about both of these two websites because everybody talks about them and they're like the most used thing. Because like I said, I use Talk to Me in Korean all the time, not only the website, but they also have so many YouTube videos to follow. So the main thing I do every day is I try and do a new grammar lesson on the Talk to Me in Korean website every single day, and they also have different like modules and things that you can buy. So the grammar ones are free, which is really useful, and then you can buy like additional ones on top. They recently added in a monthly subscription thing. I've not used that, so I'm not quite sure how that works, but I know that they recently added that onto their website. I have bought a few of their different like modules and different things. So I did the verb guide quite a while ago, which I found really useful. It had so many verbs to learn a day, and then it put them into sentences, which was really helpful. And then I also did the it was like a word each day one. I can't remember what it was called, but I'll put that down there as well. I'll put that down in the description as well. I can't remember what it was called, but you had like a new word each day to learn, and then it would put that word into different sentences on top of that as well. So I've done both of those, but I mainly now use Talk to Me in Korean for grammar lessons. So I try and do a new grammar lesson every single day. When you've picked what website and how you're going to study Korean, obviously you're going to need a workbook, something to write down in. So I put mine into different sections. So it's got like different parts in it, and I use one bit for grammar and one bit for vocab. I'm writing it down. Please ignore my not very aesthetically pleasing handwriting. So when I write it down, I'm trying to find like a good example. Also, these were from a while ago. Like I said, please excuse my very non-aesthetically pleasing handwriting. My English handwriting isn't very good in the beginning, so to my Korean handwriting is even worse. So I like to, I don't know if you can see, I use different colours of pen. So then I do the same word, so I write out the sentence in Korean and then I write it out in English, and I correspond the word that I've written in Korean to be the same colour as what it means in English, because obviously Korean grammar is so different to English grammar. So I find that when I do it, if I put them in the same colour, it also helps me with grammar in the future. So it basically, I've got so many different colours, and then I will write it out in English with the word being the same colour in English as it was in Korean. And I find that really helps me not only remember like the words that I've learned and the grammar, but also it makes it easier if you want to like switch out words, you know. So instead of saying like I am American, being like I am English or whatever, it's a lot easier to be able to like change and mix the words around, or even the verbs around and things like that. So I find that useful. So yeah. So tip number one, like I was saying, you need to find a website or a textbook, something to use as like your main source of learning. Second, you need like a decent notebook so you can spread it all out. You don't want to have your vocab and your grammar all together. It makes it a lot harder to sort of differentiate. So you need like a decent workbook or like a couple of different ones. So do that as like your main learning. That's what I find. But then on top of that, I also used to use Duolingo, which a lot of people I know use on their phone, but I don't use it. I mean, I used that right at the beginning. That was before I like found a website or anything. That was when I was first starting to become a bit interested in learning it. Now, it's definitely not the best way to learn. I don't think it's the easiest thing to follow, but I like using this other app called Lingodeer. Let me just show you it here. So it's very similar. Let it load. It's very similar to like how Duolingo works. But I find it a lot easier to follow, and it like tests you and things at the end, which I find really useful. So I use this. This is like by no means the main source of like studying I use. I mainly use it either to refresh vocab that I've learned, or as a way to sort of study on the go. So I quite like, if I'm like on the bus or on the train, like I'm going somewhere, it's so easy to like have it on your phone. You can do like a quick 10-15 minute, you know, study, like not even necessarily something new, but something that you've already learned. I find that really helpful. So I like to use that as like a side thing. But there's loads of different apps that you can use. So another good one is Memrise. And then another one some people use is HelloTalk, which is like a way to talk to native speakers of a language that you're learning. So that's a great one for any language that you're learning, because you can find native speakers. So they're like great apps to have as like a side thing, which is great, because then it means that you're practicing. The more you practice, the more you're going to learn, the more you're going to remember. Having something on the side to have a main source of learning and like a program to follow, but then also having, basically you can kind of learn for like 10-15 minutes at a time throughout the day whenever you have time. The next tip would be like watching any sort of like entertainment or TV shows or YouTube videos or anything in that language. So I like to watch different like there's like different variety shows and stuff in Korean that are quite funny, and I like to watch those. There's also a lot of like Korean YouTubers. I like to watch those. There's loads of people that do like daily vlogs, so there's lots of words that you may already know. If you've been studying Korean for a while, obviously not if you're an absolute beginner, but if you've been studying Korean for a while, there might be some that you can like pick out certain words that you do already know, which is quite nice, because it makes you feel like you've actually learned something. Because I know how I feel sometimes. It's like I spend all this time but I feel like I don't know anything. So sometimes it's nice to watch like vlogs and things like that, and you listen to them and you're like, oh, I knew that, or I know that word, and like you don't have to watch the subtitles, or you like know what that word meant before you read the subtitle at the bottom. So I like watching those, and then it's a way of like studying but also relaxing at the same time. So I would definitely say like watch those from time to time if you know, have the chance. So I also like to do a Talk to Me in Korean grammar lesson every single day, and then sometimes another lesson that they have on their website in any of the other modules, depending on what I've like bought or haven't finished at the time. Like I said, I've already finished the verb one and the my weekly word, I think it's my weekly vocab one. But yeah, I was doing like one grammar lesson on one of those a week. Not a week, sorry, one grammar lesson and one of those lessons every single day. I think it's important to try and study every single day, even if it's only for like 5-10 minutes. Obviously try and do a little bit more, but the more often you do it, the more you remember. And it's so easy to like I know from many of past experiences how easy it is to like be really consistent for like a month or two, and then you don't do anything for like 3 weeks or even longer, and then you come back and you feel like you can't remember any of it. Like obviously you do remember some bits, but you just feel like it's just all gone. So being consistent and trying to do some every single day, even if it is only a tiny bit and it's nothing new, it's just refreshing what you've already done. So on another tip then would be to not consistently always learn new things and keep going back over what you've already learned, because it's so easy to like get excited and think, oh, like I always know when I'm doing like the grammar lessons on Talk to Me in Korean, I'll see the next lesson like, oh, I really want to learn that, I really want to learn that, but I was like, right, you need to go back over what you've learned, otherwise you're going to forget everything you've already done. So try and not do too much in a day. It's better to only learn a little bit and go back over what you've already learned so that you don't forget everything. Because yeah, I've been there, and then you like feel like you have to start all over again, which is not great. Yeah, so try and do some every single day, even if it is just refreshing what you've already learned. And that's also helpful if you find someone that you can like talk, whether they're a native speaker or somebody that's also studying or learning Korean or any other language, depending on what language you're learning, that you can talk to in that language, because the more you practice, the more confident you feel. 100%. Like the more you do it, the better you'll feel about it. And then for my final tip is to use YouTube so much, like not even just, you know, you can watch like normal videos of like people's vlogs or like them doing things in native languages, but there's also so many study channels. There's so many channels that like teach you vocab, because that was one of the things that I found not most difficult, but just difficult to find the sources as much. Like I said, I do the Talk to Me in Korean grammar, but finding vocab was something that I found not the easiest to find like an actual source to use, because in those lessons they often use the same words. It's like grammar structure that'll change. So like if you're doing future tense, they'll use the same verbs as they did in the past tense and things like that, which is great. It makes it easier to learn the grammar. But obviously it's great to know the grammar, but you also need to know words to use as well. So there are so many videos on YouTube that are great, that have like hundreds or thousands of different vocab to learn. I think one of the channels is How to Study Korean 101 that I've used before. So there's things on YouTube for vocab, and then I've also found tons on Pinterest as well of people that have like done pages of like one's weather words and like transport or like food and stuff, and there's different pages for like different words, which I find really useful. So definitely the internet has so many different sources that you can find for so many different things, and I think sometimes it's best to not just use one thing, like one source of information, whether that's a website or a textbook or whatever. Have one main source that you try and use every single day, but don't just do that, try and find other things as well. So that's what I try and do. It's working okay for me at the moment, especially now that I have plenty of time to study. At the moment I'm trying to study for like an hour a day, so it's going pretty well. Hopefully I'll be able to take the topic at some point, but I don't know when or if I'll be ready for when it is. But that's my next aim, is to try and take the topic test. So they were my How to Study Korean tips and the strategies that I use for studying. I might make one of these on the other languages I learn, but I'm not sure yet. But obviously you can use these tips for many different languages. You just change the website or change the apps and things like that, and some can be used for both of them. So they were my tips for learning Korean. Thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you later. Bye!